everybody, I'm Phil Liggett along with Paul Sherwin. Together we hope to bring you an exciting 80th edition of the Tour of Italy, starting right here in Venice on the Lido and moving all the way around Italy to finish in Milan on June the 8th. The weather today, absolutely marvellous. Full sun, 29 degrees Celsius, very hot indeed for what is 16 laps of the Lido here in Venice. And of course the hot favourite today will be the self-acclaimed fastest man in the world, Mario Cipollini. And Paul, with 2 kilometres to go, his team are working for the win for him.
Certainly this is what they've done all year so far. They've been at the front in all of the situations like this. They are a well-drilled squad, and there's only one thing they're thinking about, that's getting Mario Cipollini to the line in an ideal position. There he is, Phil, in the tricolour jersey of the champion of Italy.
So Cipollini hoping to get on the winning trail again in the Tour of Italy, already a winner of 16 stages of this race since he first competed in it in 1989, and now lining up for what he hopes will be the start of a clutch of wins this year. These early days of the Tour of Italy will certainly suit Cipollini. They're very flat, they're just his ideal type of racing, and he's got a very strong team here around him with his favourite lead-out men right on the front now. The man he always relies heavily on, Gian Matteo Fanini, is the second man in the line here and the last man to lead Cipollini out for the finish. 1k to go.
A kilometre to go, and just behind Cipollini there is the blue and white jersey of Marcel Wust, a German sprinter who is very good indeed when it comes down to these opening stages. Especially this afternoon, you have to bear in mind, first man across the line will get the pink jersey because there's been no prologue time trial.
And Marcel Wust out on the very first day a year ago when he was sprinting so well. It was meant to be a highlight of his year. Instead it was the biggest low light. He's right in at the final kill here today, Marcel Wust. Now it's just Fanini now with Cipollini on his wheel. You can see the heat haze here now as Fanini gives his final effort here for Big Mario. Also in on the hunt here, the yellow jersey of Leone. Leone also trying to break in. Minali in the batik colours of blue trying to get through. Now Leone's been left on the front. Fanini has gone out of it now. It's all up to Cipollini. The champion of Italy is boxed in behind Leone and Minali. The big sprinters may have him, but he's coming through an impossible gap on the inside, and Cipollini gets it. So Mario Cipollini opens with a win. He'll be the first man to pull on the Maglia Rosa. The average speed of the day, 48 kilometres an hour. That's more than 30 miles an hour for the first stage. And I am not surprised he is happy. Although he didn't look too happy there with somebody that tried to talk to him. Anyway, this is how Cipollini did it. And I must say at this stage, Paul, I thought he was completely boxed in.
Well, he was, but there's a lot of action in the sprint there. You can see arms going up, people pulling off each other. But this is how he did it, Phil. He came right up the inside of Nicola Minali. He was looking through a gap that hardly was there at all, which is quite remarkable. He knew he had to get this first stage. He's up here, you can see, right on the barriers. Minali on the blue jersey at the front here, coming across a little bit, trying to close the door on him. And Cipollini, the gap doesn't even look wide enough for his shoulders, but he's got the speed and the confidence. He's just gone straight through, across the line to get his first win of this year's Tour of Italy.
And that's what he wanted, so a win for Mario Cipollini, second Nicola Minali, third was Endrio Leone, and that was the order of the sprinters and the order of the overall as the race now moves on to the second stage, which takes the riders from Mestre to Sevilla, a ride of 211 kilometres, and the weather again is absolutely glorious. So it's a little bit longer than yesterday. In fact, it's something like 90 kilometres further, but no terrain at all to speak of, Paul. Absolutely pancake flat. Look at that, 4 laps when they get down to the end.
And again, once they do get to the finishing circuit, I'm sure the team of Mario Cipollini will take over control. You can see him there in the pink jersey just at the left of the screen, and he has said one of the major things he wants to do is win a stage of the Tour of Italy with the pink jersey on his shoulders. You know, Phil, he's such a showman, and I think he can rise to the occasion.
Absolutely right. He's worn the pink jersey before, but he's never won a stage of the race wearing it. And he's changed his colour of his shorts yet again. These are the official shorts for a change, more or less, Paul. They're not quite the right pattern, but he keeps on collecting those fines for wearing the illegal shorts. But as Paul has said, he really is a fashion expert. Big field, and the field now enjoying the start of the Tour here, right down in the very warm part of Italy, as they now race down towards the far south of Italy, where the weather is bound to be at its hottest, and the field staying together, hardly in attack all day, in fact. The riders just continuing into the big bunch, and the whole field coming in towards the final kilometre here now. And again, MG trying to get on terms. The big men we expect to talk about staying out of the way of the action at the minute and leaving the sprinters to it as the bell rings, pulling a long line of riders towards the finish.
Well, Mapei GB trying to keep it together for their men, Jan Sverada. He's ridden very well so far this year, but as we go closer to the finish, it's obviously the team of Psycho Cannondale at the front, the team of Mario Cipollini, who's there at the moment in around about 6th or 7th position, just controlling his guards at the front.
Well, in fact, we heard the bell there. That was for the final lap. They are now 5 kilometres from the finish here, as the sprinters try to get on terms. In fact, Sverada has been in the action earlier today at 50 kilometres. He won the sponsors' special prix they've got this year, the Gran Premio of La Gazzetta dello Sport, which is the newspaper that sponsors this event. And now we've got again Saiko trying to bring the riders up towards the front. Bonacciari is the rider who's just swung off there, making way for the rest of the team now. But this could be some sprint here for... That was a little bit of wobbly as they came round that corner, but again, Fanini has got his man on the front.
Well, Cipollini can't ride without Fanini. He needs this man just as a pilot fish, just to get him to the last couple of 100 metres. But at the moment, he's got a long way to go, and riders starting to queue up on his shoulder, and it may well be that he's left it a little bit too late.
So as they come up towards the line now, it's again Cipollini who's trying to do something about it. As he starts to lead out, this big man kicks again, but there's a terrible crash on the corner. I think Minali was involved in that, but he's left on the corner as Cipollini knows nothing about it. He gets the win he wanted, and it was Sverada who got second place just behind him, but I think it was Minali who was left on the corner. It was indeed number 48, Nicola Minali, and it looks as though he's hurt his back there. That's how it happened. In fact, it looked as though it might have been Minali's fault there, Paul. His front wheel seemed to lose traction.
Well, he was taking a lot of risks as he came round the corner. He knew he had to stay on the wheel of Mario Cipollini, but as he cruises across the line, he'll get the same time as the rest of the riders there, but I think he's going to be very sore.
Very sore indeed there. That was a nasty fall at the most crucial part of the sprint. Watch it again. His back wheel went, in fact, and he sat right down on his backside. That was a painful fall indeed. But the skill of professional cyclists, virtually nobody else involved in that spill. Just one teammate, in fact, of Mario Cipollini got involved. Tremendous bike riding by the big boys. And now, look at the front. This is the win he wanted. Win number 2 in as many days for Mario Cipollini. And again, he's distanced Endrio Leone back into 3rd place. The man who's popped up into 2nd was Jan Sverada of the Mapei GB. So the big man ruling the roost in the Giro d'Italia in the top 3 again today with his win. And overall, no change at all. Cipollini leading this race by 16 seconds now from Endrio. There's confirmation of the stage result. Tomi getting 4th. 1 or 2 strange names getting up in the sprint, all disturbed by the crash. But overall, no change at all. Cipollini leading Endrio Leone by 16 seconds. Rada is 3rd. On to stage number 3.
Well, this is a time trial stage, in fact, and I think Mario Cipollini is going to have a very hard time keeping hold of that leader's yellow jersey because it's an uphill time trial into San Marino. But, Phil, it's great to see on the start of this year's Tour of Italy, Marco Pantani making a brilliant comeback after 18 months almost out of the sport since that crash he had in Milan-Torino at the end of 1995.
And there he is. We're now at the smallest republic in the world. Population 23,000, just 61 square kilometres, the Republic of San Marino. And I think, Paul, they're all here to watch the departure of Marco Pantani.
Well, they'll get a chance just to see how good his recovery has been. He rode very well in the Tour of Murcia in March. He was, in fact, lying in 2nd place overall, but then disqualified for not wearing the King of the Mountains jersey. The team also, Phil, is based here in San Marino, so they want to do something special.
Well, Pantani's still a little way down the leaderboard, in fact, leaving the departure house 51st. And this is Gotti, who has worn the yellow jersey in the Tour de France briefly, and now riding very, very well indeed here. The best time through this checkpoint done by Coppolillo at the moment, and Gotti is slightly up on that. He's not quite at the line yet, just round the corner here. He's going to run Coppolillo very, very well indeed. Coppolillo's been heading up all the way through this race so far, and he's just a shade outside Gotti. Just less than a second slower than Coppolillo, so he might go better over the distance. Here's the defending champion. Now, this is an important day. Only a short time trial. Not a lot of time trials in the Tour this year. Pavel Tonkov will want to see a good result. And his season so far, although he is showing form now, Paul, has been dogged by crashes.
He's had a lot of injuries, but it was good to see him coming just to form in the Tour of Romandy. He looked exceptional there. He was beating all comers, but at the midsection of the course, Marco Pantani is showing, I think, Phil, that he has come back to some form of his former self.
Well, this is a bit of a remarkable ride here by Pantani. Coppolillo still is on top of the board, but look at this now as Marco sprints for the line here. He's going to be, I think he's going to be quicker. He is. Nearly 4 seconds to the good for Marco Pantani at the early stage of what is a very short time trial.
It's a very short time trial, only 18 kilometres long, but really from the midway, it's uphill all the way to the finish, right in the centre of San Marino. Gotti out on the course, still looking very comfortable indeed, but it'll be interesting to see just what time Pavel Tonkov does when he gets to the halfway point.
So looking down at Ivan Gotti, the training partners, by the way, Tonkov and Gotti, as they make their way now in their own team colours here. And Ivan Gotti riding well, I think, but Tonkov is riding exceptionally well here. He's riding up to the check here. Pantani's time is surviving, but this man is going to knock more than a couple of seconds of it. So Pavel Tonkov looks to me as though he has got form. We've switched back immediately to see Luc Leblanc make the start here. The top Frenchman riding now for Parte, the Italian team. A little bit sorry that we didn't see the passage there of Tonkov go through. We might get back to it pretty quickly, but it looks as though Tonkov is now the leader at that check. Further up the course, we're back with Marco Pantani, and the fireworks are welcoming him.
Well, this is the Pantani club here. They're all from San Marino. You can see at the side of the road there. They really want Marco Pantani to come back to the former climber that he was, and at the moment he's climbing exceptionally well, Phil, and the crowds have certainly turned out for him.
Absolutely enormous. Is this man popular or what? The little man with the big heart now stomping on the pedals. Everybody willing him to do a ride to put him right up there amongst the leaders of the Giro d'Italia. Tough little climb this. It's 11% gradients. That's around about just over 1 in 10.
It's really remarkable to think, Phil, that he's been out of the sport for such a long time and he's back and competitive. Up at the finish line, it's going to be Ivan Gotti. The time to beat is 33.23, and I think he might just go inside.
So Gotti should set the best time. By the way, Tonkov got through the check there 30 seconds exactly ahead of Pantani, as Ivan Gotti is trying to dig out something special here, but his time is running up a little bit better than Coppolillo. He's going to go top of the leaderboard right now if he can find it in his legs to sprint, and he can. So Ivan Gotti, excellent time, 46.7 seconds to the good. Now, Piotr Ugrimov, getting a little bit long in the tooth now, but he has been a great time trial rider, one of the few who can claim to have beaten Miguel Indurain in a time trial in a stage of the Tour de France.
And that was an uphill time trial too, so he'll be at home on a course like this. It really is a very tough course over the final part, and this is the classification at midpoint. Ivan Gotti has come in with the best time, ahead of Coppolillo and Vladimiro Belli in third place.
Yeah, Belli's a surprising rider this season as well, but now it looks to me as though Tonkov here, his legs are looking a bit heavy all of a sudden.
It really looks to be crawling up this climb when you compare his style to the style of Marco Pantani, but it is very steep at this part of the course, and Pavel Tonkov has the reputation of a man who tends to use excessively big gears, so it may well just be a deception.
Well, let's find out if Pantani has maintained a tempo towards the finish. Coppolillo here in second place, so he's behind now. Pantani, he's slower than Gotti, but he's racing for the second place at the moment. He gets that, so Pantani goes into second, a little bit off the pace set by Ivan Gotti, who's delivered the first surprise of this Giro d'Italia, I think. And here comes Luc Leblanc. He also is not firing that great at the moment out on the course. Going through, Tonkov has set the best time. There it is, 13.04.
Tonkov come in there with a very good time. I think he lost a lot over the last couple of kilometres, but out on the course, Lucky Luke, as the French call him, looking for a good ride in this year's Giro d'Italia. Really, time running out for him. Here's the classification. Tonkov still at the lead there with 31.42, almost a minute ahead of Ivan Gotti.
I'm just wondering what our director's got against Pavel Tonkov there. He only gave us a quick glimpse of him finishing with the best time, but out on the course, Ugrimov now without his hat, and you can see the balding head is getting bored, I have to say, Piotr. He's now trying to set a good time. He is going well. He's plus 10 seconds. That's not a lot for Ugrimov. Tonkov, though, setting the best time there, and now has the best time in at the finish. The time of Pavel Tonkov, 31 minutes and 42 seconds.
Well, Phil, it's nice to see the devil, in fact, has changed his holiday venue. We normally see him at the Tour de France, but this time he's decided to come down to Italy as well.
Well, we mustn't forget, as we watch all the stars here, the last man to go will be the Maglia Rosa of the Giro d'Italia, and that is Mario Cipollini. I'm not so sure, though, he'll expect to live with the quality of these mountain time trialists today. And a very, very fast tempo being set here by Ugrimov. Back to the finish. Leblanc is coming in with a good time here, racing the time now second best as he comes up towards the line. He's going to scrape in there. So Leblanc goes second, 32.19 for him behind Tonkov.
Roberto Petito, the next man to come out for Seiko. He's had an excellent season so far this year. He was a winner earlier on of Tirreno Adriatico, but at the finish line, Ugrimov too is trying to go inside the time of Luc Leblanc, but I don't think he's going to make it.
Well, in which case, if he doesn't, he'll go for third, Paul. But we've got Tonkov with the best time in the house. Leblanc is currently second at 32.19. He's outside of that now. He's chasing Gotti's time. He could be slotting in here in third place. And Ugrimov comes in. Yes, 32.35. He'll hold third. Now, the man who won the Tour of Italy, the first Russian ever to do it, Evgeny Berzin. We know he's a great time trialist. Can he produce it today? His form a little bit suspect.
Well, his form always erratic, Phil. He comes up to the big occasions, he promises to be good, and then all of a sudden, everything falls apart.
Here comes Petito out on the course at the 8.5 kilometre check. He's now chasing a time set by Ugrimov, so he's falling a little bit down the leaderboard, but not that far. This is going to be a good ride by Petito. He's a big man to deliver good times out on the mountains. 14 seconds off the pace. That shouldn't be too disappointing for him. Not yet there is Evgeny Berzin. And I think, in fact, Tonkov will be very interested about Berzin because Tonkov lost 1:27 to him on stage 19 of the time trial last year. There he was, watching him. He's in the finish, remember, with the best time. And Evgeny Berzin still away down on the course. Well, there he is, Paul. He must be feeling a little bit of a complex down there now.
It's going to be very difficult for him. He's done one thing that he wanted to do so far in this year's Giro d'Italia, and that was win a stage wearing the pink jersey. But with a finish at the summit of the climb here to San Marino, it's going to be very hard for him to keep that pink jersey, and I think he'll have to get rid of the pink bike as well.
Well, it doesn't look to me as though he's a man expecting to be in the lead by the end of this stage because he's a little bit too relaxed. Is Mario Cipollini as he rolls out to an enormous cheer from the crowd. He really is a popular rider. 2 out of 2 stage wins, but the time trial coming very early in this year's Giro. It's forcing the favourites to play their cards early on. Here's one of them, Evgeny Berzin, but indications are he's not going that well out on the course, and he doesn't look too hot on the climb either.
He's a strange rider, really enigmatic. He can be absolutely brilliant or useless, and at the moment I think he's having a hard time just trying to get his gearing right on this very steep part of the climb. As he came round the corner there, he was suffering trying to decide which gear to use, and at the finish line, Roberto Petito has put in a very good time, trying to push Luc Leblanc away from second position. As he goes inside, that'll give him second, 32.14, just 32 seconds adrift.
Wow, well, good for Roberto. That's a great ride by him. Now, are we going to call a great ride for Evgeny Berzin? This rider, following his own training formula this year, they've given him a free hand on the Batik team, so he's spent a lot of time racing in Portugal, and he's been getting wins there, but not against the big competition. Anyway, here's the big man. He's closing down the time trial course and riding a lonely furrow. Berzin was 3 seconds quicker than Tonkov out on the course, but it looks as though he's lost a little bit since. The climb has hurt him because he's chasing only second time now. Petito, he might sneak in there. He's in 32.03, so Berzin gets the second place, but he'll be disappointed. He hasn't beaten Tonkov this time out. So Evgeny Berzin rolls to a halt, shakes his head a little bit there. I don't think he was at all happy with that performance because he convincingly beat Tonkov last time out in the Giro, and this time he concedes 21 seconds. Petito gets a very good third, and Luc Leblanc of France and Polti, he finishes in 4th place. So overall, Tonkov leading by a single second from Berzin, Petito up to 3rd, Leblanc is 4th. The race goes on. This is now the 4th stage of 156 kilometres, taking us away from San Marino into Tuscany. We're off to Arezzo, Paul.
And a very tough stage too. The first time the riders really get a chance to stretch their legs, so it'll be difficult, I think, to control the main field, and a good day really when a breakaway could succeed.
Well, again, 178 riders at the start this morning, and no big racing done in the opening miles at all. A long breakaway by Tobias Steinhauser, but that's been brought back to heel now as the Seiko boys are still sensing they might pull their man, Mario Cipollini, back up for what would be his 3rd stage victory in 4 days.
There is Pavel Tonkov in the pink jersey in the centre of the field, and I think, Phil, he's going to be very happy with the fact that the Seiko team think they can win the stage, because in fact they're the team at the front doing all of the work controlling the pack.
Well, a few rolling hills as we've come into Tuscany, but nothing to challenge the climbers, of course, and that 1 second gap beginning to look quite a large gap over Evgeny Berzin for Pavel Tonkov. And they know the mountains are still to come, because this is one of the most difficult tours for years, and the mountains are still a little way down the road. So for the moment at least, Mario Cipollini is looking for the victory. The whole of his team have the confidence he can get it, and there they all are.
Well, Well, they certainly know what to do when it comes down to the final few kilometres of a stage like this. This time Mario Cipollini in 6th or 7th place there, you can see, has changed his jersey. This is the Mayo Ciclamina, or the mauve jersey for the points, and he's in fact asked for one of his teammates to bring him his helmet, so he's obviously worried about the danger of these final few sprints.
Well, I'm not sure whether that's good news or bad news for the other sprinters in the race. It means that Big Mario is going to mix with the best here now, as again his team start to stalk up and down the bunch. This looks like, in fact, it's Alexander Moose who's gone forward on the far side, and also Fonacciari is the rider putting his hand in his pocket. The whole team is here.
Well, they know exactly what their job is. They're totally dedicated to getting Mario Cipollini the stage victories. None of these riders think anything at all about themselves. All they want to do is keep the pace high so that they can pull this breakaway back that's just formed over the last few kilometres, bring it all together, so then when they go into the finish, Cipollini's got a chance of taking another stage victory.
Well, it's a breakaway of a few riders here who have been trying to stay away, but the pace has been pretty snappy and holding the riders almost together. And there's no chance, I don't think, for these riders to stay away now. They've pulled back 2 big breaks today. Little riders trying to snip off the front yet again, but it's up to the sprinters on the Seiko team to hold this race together if they can. Number 96 there at the back is Simo Biasco.
67 riding for the Cantina Tolo team, that's Andrea Dolci. But again, riders trying to come across all of the time, but I think the pressure of the Seiko Cannondale team at the front is going to bring it all together when we come in to the final few kilometres. But the speed, you can see, Phil, is allowing 1 or 2 riders to leap across the gap.
Well, we're just about 30 kilometres from the finish here now, as riders trying to reorganise the situation, but you see they've got everything nicely under control. As the red guard, as it were, it reminds me of the old days of Rick Van Looy when he used to have the red guard looking after him in the big sprints, the Belgian sprinter.
You see how they don't panic at all. They stay keeping one simple pace at the front of this group, letting groups go across all of the time in 1s and 2s, form a breakaway at the front, and then what they do is lift the pace generally and pull everything back together. But this break now, Phil, is up to 5 riders and starting to look quite significant.
Well, this is Della Vedova here, and in fact we've got Paolo Bettini in this break and Andrea Dolci yet again from Cantina. Thing about the Tour of Italy is the smaller teams do have a chance to grab a little bit of publicity, and Vyacheslav Jevanian is also here for Roslotto, and Saro Gallerini from Scrigno. That's the breakaway, but they're only just ahead. We've just had a crash, in fact, off our cameras, and the biggest faller there was Vladislav Bobrick, and Uwe Peschel also gone down in that fall, but they're chasing behind the race, and we are now just 15 kilometres from the finish, and the pack are not very far behind. There they are.
Well, it's down to around 100 metres or so. But Jevanian, the Russian rider on the Roslotto squad, is a very good sprinter indeed. But he's not feeling too confident, I think, trying to find a small breakaway to give him a chance of taking one of the stage victories. But all of the time, you can see the red guard of Seiko at the front. And this is the final little climb as we go down to the finish in Arezzo. And then from the top here, just 14 kilometres to the finish line.
Really, the profile doesn't favour this breakaway, because once over this little climb, the Seiko boys look as though they've found themselves a little bit of help here now as well. And because there's a lot of sprinters will fancy their chances here, and they've really got to take Mario Cipollini on at his own game if they're going to beat him in a sprint finish. The thing about sprinters is, Paul, they need confidence, and right now Cipollini's confidence is so high.
Well, it's 100%. I think 2 stage victories in 2 days in the opening days of this Giro d'Italia makes him feel that he's invincible, especially when you saw the gap that he went through on the second stage there to try and get that victory of his. But I do think also that Nicola Minali feels that he's in with a chance, which is why he sent his team in the light blue jersey, the Batik Del Monte squad, to the front to try and help it as well, to make sure that they all come to the line together.
Well, Minali is suffering from that crash injury, by the way, but he's still very much in the Tour and still trying to make amends with a stage win. So the whole line of riders here, the pink jersey now on the shoulders of Tonkov, that turquoise mauve jersey on the shoulders of Mario Cipollini. That's the one we should look out for, Paul, because look at this sort of speed now as they go down towards the finish in Arezzo, and that is Gabriella Colombo, who's taken a flyer off the front.
Well, a few moments ago, in fact, all of his team were at the front, and I think now he's trying to take the sting out of the tail of the Seiko Cannondale team, and it looks to me, if we get 1 or 2 corners coming into the finish line, as if he might just surprise them.
Well, there's a nasty right-hand bend there, very sharp one indeed, but they look as though they're all safely round. We've had 1 or 2 tumbles in these opening stages of the Giro d'Italia this year. Colombo, though, well, he's totally in for it now, or he's going to get nothing. But the sprinters have got the whole teams working there to try and haul him back. Sharp left-hand bend here, and he's come round, and he's gone down. He's gone straight off the corner. Colombo, a nasty crash with the curbstone there. And Gabriele Colombo is down and is now going to have to chase back.
Well, he took too many risks there, Phil. He pushed it just a little bit coming into that corner. He knew he had to do something special, but it's now down to the sprinters. There's Cipollini in the Ciclamina jersey there in third position. He's looking for another win.
Well, he's got himself right where he wants him at the moment. He's concentrating very, very hard indeed. Angel Edo of the Kelme team is up there with him too, keeping an eye on him. Tonkov staying well out of it now, because this is when the sprinters claim it for themselves. There'll be no change in the overall classification now, except Colombo's going to lose time. He was outside the kilometre when he fell. Now, almost casually, the big charge for the line. I'm not so sure he wanted to be up there quite this soon here, but I didn't like the way, in fact, the Fanini swung off the front there and blocked up the rest of the race. But anyway, Angel is trying to come through on our left, but Cipollini gets the stage win, and a brilliant result there. 3 out of 4 possible for Mario Cipollini so far. He cannot do a thing wrong. Well, he thanks his teammates for the effort, but I really didn't think very much of the sprinting there of Gian Matteo. Well, here's Gabriele Colombo explaining how he just lost this stage, Paul, as he went off on that left-hand bend.
He's basically saying that he came into the corner too quickly, trying to take too many risks. He touched the white line a little bit there. Then all of a sudden, he saw the fact that there was a directional island, tried to correct it, but he couldn't, and he went into the curbstone there with his head, you can see, so fortunately wearing a helmet.
Well, in fact, as we see Cipollini spray the cameras, his teammate has been disqualified from the Tour. Gian Matteo has been disqualified for dangerous riding in the sprint when he led out Mario Cipollini. So that's put a damper on thing. We might see it here. That's Fanini on the right. Now, you see how he slows down and he balks everybody. He tries to apologise, but that's a professional foul if ever I saw one. He delayed everybody in their reaction, and for that he's disqualified from the Tour. Pavel Tonkov keeps the overall lead by a single second. No change at all here. All of these men finishing safely, despite Fanini, in that main field. And now we're up to 215 kilometres on stage number 5 as we go from Arezzo down to the finishing stage here in Terminillo.
It's going to be a very tough climb for these riders. It's one of the hardest climbs of the Tour of Italy, and certainly a lot of big time gaps will appear. This is one of the earlier climbs, the Col de Greccio, and very hard too for the man who's managed to get away on his own, wearing number 57 from Brescialat. This, in fact, is Mariano Piccoli, a very well-known climber, trying to make a name for himself in this year's Tour of Italy. But I tell you one thing, Phil, once they get to the finish at Terminillo, it's going to be very hard for a lot of riders.
Well, this is Mariano Piccoli, last 2 years the king of the mountains in the Tour, now coming up towards the top of the Greccio. Somewhere in between now is his teammate Contrini. This is the main pack, or the lead pack really, because 1 or 2 riders are in trouble on the climb as the Mappe boys try to look after Tonkov. This is Contrini. He's gone over the top about a minute and a half behind his teammates. This is the main field. And so they're coming pretty much together. It's a brave effort by Piccoli, this, Paul, to try and get some mountain points.
Well, certainly he's been the king of the mountains in this competition for the last 2 years, running 95 and 96. Currently, though, lying 38th overall in the standings, almost 2.5 minutes behind.
Well, he's got the descent, and then he will start the climb of the Terminillo, and it's a tough one right to the top. It takes them up to 1,675 metres. This is the way down at the moment, and just look at that, 162 beats to the minute, Paul, at the moment.
40 kilometres an hour, so he's just riding sensibly at the moment, just trying to keep his tempo, because he realises he doesn't want to go too hard and then get to the bottom of the climb a little bit asphyxiated. He ride a steady tempo all the way there, but the reaction's still coming in the main field.
Well, this looks like Bueno Hora stretching his neck there. He's had a little dig. He's being brought back into the fold here by the group.
In fact, strangely enough, this looks like Mario Cipollini, who's still up there. So he's put an excellent ride in so far to get over the Col de Greccio. But I think once they get to the slopes of Terminillo, Mario Cipollini is going to take the easy ride to the summit.
Well, normally he takes the easy ride home midway through a Tour of Italy, but this year perhaps he's intent on finishing the race himself. This looks like the arrival of Contrini. He's come right back to the field now, leaving just his teammate Piccoli out front. Here comes the main field, and they're wiping him out in a big swift run at him. But again, Cipollini is paying close attention, Paul. He'll obviously be afraid of the climb to the finish. Maybe he wants to get a little bit ahead.
Well, he doesn't have to worry too much today, because if he's still in the race at this stage, he only has to ride up to the summit of Terminilio and not worry too much about the elimination times, because they're quite long today, Phil, on a stage of 215 kilometres.
Back with the leader, Piccoli. He's no longer pulling away from the field now, as he keeps his concentration and tries not to think too hard about what's going on behind. The weather let us down a bit today. You can see the little puddles of water on the roadside. There's also the gap. 1 minute and 50 seconds, says the blackboard. So in fact he's losing a little bit of ground now. This big bunch here has found their tempo, and they're just itching to get onto that climb up to the finish.
It's also the first time, really, the weather has turned inclement in the Tour of Italy. After the opening days, where temperatures were around about 35 degrees Celsius, they're now down to 15 or 16, and the rain, I think, making it difficult to everyone. But Mario Cipollini there, looking very concentrated indeed, making himself a lot of effort to stay near the front of the pack. There's Uchikov on the far side, riding alongside his former countrymate, because although he's now Ukrainian, Pavel Tonkov is still a Russian.
And so setting the pace here, Gianni Bugno. Not seen too much of him this Tour, but he's given up all hope of ever winning the Tour now. He's thinking only of a good performance, perhaps on one of the stages. The pack waiting for the last 15 kilometres. In fact, they've come up nice tempo style to Piccoli, who's gone back into the field. Now it's all hands free, because they can now go for the climb itself. Farazin from Mappe looks to be the pacemaker now for Tonkov, who climbs steadily. Behind Tonkov is his teammate Giuseppe Di Grande. He's a man who's come through this year as well.
There in the green jersey, as second place in the King of the Mountains, is Evgeny Berzin. He's looking at the back of Luc Leblanc, wearing number 171 there, riding for Polti. And once again, as soon as it goes uphill, it's always the Spanish team, Kelme, who are at the front. This is Kepe Gonzalez, the Colombian rider. He's looking to try and get out of the main pack and put a lot of pressure on the lead of Pavel Tonkov. But at the moment, I don't think Tonkov is too worried about riders like Gonzalez. He's more worried about the riders alongside him. Marco Pantani there with the balding head. He'd like to see just exactly how Pantani is going to be in this year's Tour of Italy. But Berzin looking very concentrated indeed and fighting to stay at the front.
It looks as though the Mercatone Uno boys are going to try and give Tonkov a rough ride up the hill here, because Pantani wants to show he's back to his old form. There he is, sitting behind Pavel Tonkov. They're not going to worry too much about the attack by Kepe Gonzalez at this stage. Tonkov can't afford to panic. His leads are not that big overall yet, but if a good ride today, you never know what gaps will open. Here's Kepe. He's got a great claim to fame, really, because last year he became the first Colombian to win a stage of the Tour de France on the flat, before you all write in, because not many Colombians win on the flat.
Well, Berzin looks to be suffering a little bit here. You can see the green jersey. Lots of riders have gone by him, and I think, in fact, he's going to have a great deal of difficulty staying with the pink jersey of Pavel Tonkov on this very tough climb, 15 kilometres from the base, all the way up to the summit of Terminilio.
I'll tell you what, Paul, it's going to be a little bit Terminilio for one or two riders here, because there's a few riders now losing ground off the back. One of the names coming forth is Ugrumov, has gone off the back. We've seen Berzin looking to be in a little bit of trouble, and so this could be big damage here. And here is Berzin. He's not riding with anything like the spirit and verve that made him the first Russian winner of the Giro d'Italia a couple of years back.
But one team who certainly do feel as if they want to stamp their authority on this race is Mercatone Uno. With 6 kilometres remaining to the summit, they're trying to set it up, I think, for a victory for Marco Pantani, because he's at the moment in second position.
Well, there's the face of a man who is not enjoying his Giro d'Italia, Evgeny Berzin, and it looks to me as though now Giuseppe Di Grande, I think it is, setting the pace now for his leader, Pavel Tonkov, who is now throwing down the gauntlet. He established his lead in the time trial. We're now on the first mountain stage of the Giro. The sun has come out, and that is also not pleasing Evgeny Berzin.
Well, there you can see the pink jersey responding to all of the attacks coming out. Once again, it's the MG team trying to get across there. This is Coppolillo trying to get away, but straight away the pink jersey is on him, and coming across now in the yellow is Marco Pantani.
Well, it is really good to see Pantani in the thick of the action, that's for sure. He was in the opening titles for the Giro d'Italia last year as a singer, and I'm glad he's gone back to cycle racing. Anyway, he's on the left of our picture. Now he's going to try himself, see if the legs are going to respond. He's had an excellent start to the season, although he got disqualified in one event. It didn't matter. He finished high up in the GC before they kicked him out, and it proved a point to him. There he is, Pantani climbing, very, very good. He looks determined, he looks strong, but Tonkov, Paul, has just cruised over, and Gotti is here as well.
Well, Tonkov is just controlling all of the attacks. He really looks comfortable. Every time there's been an acceleration, he's been the one to ride across to nullify any sort of attack. Following his wheel there in the red jersey of Seiko is Gotti, and not too far away from the action is Luc Leblanc.
So the big names have come to the front. The one big name we're sorry to say is not here is that of Evgeny Berzin. He is struggling down the mountain now. There's new names up here too. Gotti again throwing in a surprise after a very good time trial. Petito I haven't spotted either at the moment. He's another man we'd expect to see moving up into the action. But right now Pantani is here, Tonkov is here. We've seen Leblanc. By the way, Tonkov is quite vociferous and complaining about the riding style of Luc Leblanc, who he says just follows him everywhere he rides. And right now he's right behind him more or less.
Well, that's a tactic. He's the man who's the defending champion of this year's Tour of Italy. If he wants to win it, he has to go out from the front, and I think that's just exactly why Luc Leblanc has decided to base his riding on the style of Tonkov. You can see Leblanc there wearing number 171. He's just watching exactly where the pink jersey is going to go, but I think now, Phil, we really have the heads of state of this year's Giro d'Italia at the front with 3 kilometres remaining.
Well, the Kazakhstan rider Alexander Sheffer is number 38, tacked onto the back. I've known him for quite a few years. Good to see him getting up into the kill on the stage today. Still a little way to go. It's climbing all the way to the finish. It levels out just before the line on the summit. And now again the attacks are coming. And is this Gotti who's trying to go clear? Difficult to tell from the helicopter, but the pink jersey is right on him. He's looking so cool, Paul. He's not even getting out of the saddle. He's just cruising across to these attacks.
He certainly uses a very big gear on the climbs and just sits there comfortably. In third position there with the red jersey, that's Ivan Gotti, looking very comfortable at the moment as well.
It looks as though he's even more than that, Paul, because he's decided to have a go at it here. He's ripped away from the pack, and immediately again the Maglia Rosa has jumped across and locked in onto Ivan Gotti. Gotti is turning out to be the big surprise of this tour. He's looking very, very frisky indeed. But I have to say that Tonkov looks up to everything being thrown at him on the climb of the Terminillo today.
And that attack, in fact, putting Marco Pantani under a little bit of pressure. But Phil, you can see, in fact, Luc Leblanc has responded, and he's chasing the man that he feels is the number 1 favourite in the Tour, already in the pink jersey, Tonkov.
Well, there's about 5 or 6 riders left up at the front here now as we're just approaching the last 2 kilometres to the finish, and it really has thinned out the races again. Now this is Pipoli who's having a little dig too. He's the ref-in rider, but again Tonkov has marked every move. He's doing it all by himself. He's got complete control of this race. Now if he can convert this enormous strength he's showing into a good finish, he could take out this second most important stage so far.
Well, in fact, he hasn't waited for any more attacks. He's decided to launch one himself, showing that he's very confident, showing that he's got the power, and in fact he's put the climbers of this event into a position where they have to chase him down.
Well, they've got in, they've latched on. In fact, Leblanc has been caught out of position there because he's at the back of this breakaway. Tonkov now has decided, they've all had a little dig at him, that to try and control this race, he's gone to the front and he's now using his strength to keep the pace just where he wants to keep it.
Well, he's not one of the great climbers. What he has to do now as they come up to the kilometre banner is control it, set a pace to stop these climbers attacking him, and all of the other riders in this break are climbers, apart from the man in the pink jersey, who is really the most powerful man on the flat.
Well, the thing is, he's the defending champion of the Giro d'Italia. He won it last year, and he's now looking very, very strong indeed. It's been a long struggle this year for Pavel Tonkov. A couple of serious crashes, he's damaged his hands, but he now seems to have got himself right on schedule to win the Giro. Little bit of rain falling again now, and he's got Pipoli on his wheel, then Gotti, then Pantani and Luc Leblanc, and Sheffer tucked in there as well.
He's got serious power here, 700 metres remaining, and all he's doing, Phil, is setting a tempo to try and prevent anybody attacking, but it looks to me as if Luc Leblanc's decided he wants to have a go.
Well, look at this, Luc Leblanc, who's watched everybody, now waiting till the very end to launch an attack, but I think a very annoyed Pavel Tonkov has gone after him, As they come up towards the finish now, Leblanc may have misjudged this because it's a climb almost to the line. And again, and this must be about the 10th time he's done it, Pavel Tonkov has countered a move with comparative ease. Now he's going to wait till he sees the banner.
Well, Gotti's coming back down. I don't think Tonkov would be very happy with Luc Leblanc because Leblanc has been following him all over the climb this afternoon. But Gotti moves up round the outside. He'll be looking for a stage win now.
So Gotti has decided to go for it as well, and Leblanc has gone after him, and this time they have a small gap over Tonkov, but no, he has reacted yet again. Pavel Tonkov brings the string across. Now this is the final run for Ivan Gotti. He's going to have to make it or not, and in fact Leblanc decides to go over his shoulder, but Tonkov is coming as well, and Pavel Tonkov, who's been strong all day, gets the stage from Luc Leblanc. Marco Pantani, I think, snicked in third place there, which will push Ivan Gotti down to fourth. But just look at this, Paul, further down the mountain.
Well, I think he will be a very sad man this afternoon. Around about 4.5 minutes down at the moment on this climb, but he hasn't got to the top, and I think he's going to lose a lot more than that before he reaches the line.
Evgeny Berzin losing his Tour of Italy, I think, with that performance today. And here's another man in desperate trouble as well, Pyotr Ugrimov. He's ahead of Berzin, but he's lost almost 3 minutes on the line. As we go back now to the sorry side of the former Russian winner of the Giro, you know, Paul, he's going to lose more than 5 minutes.
Very difficult. His teammates have stayed alongside him. This is Volpi at the front. Frattini stayed with him as well. They're pacing him up to the line, but it's going to be a real bad day for him. More than 5 minutes, 5:28.
And this is the man that caused all the distress. He was superb today, Pavel Tonkov, on this fifth stage of the Giro d'Italia. He's setting himself a long time in that Maglia Rosa if he's going to win it again this year. Leblanc robbed on the line. There's the result. He gets second. This is the overall. Tonkov getting 41 seconds lead now over Leblanc. Big names missing. Zaina's lost big time today, the runner-up last year. Gotti is now up into third place. So the race now moves on to the sixth stage of 210 kilometres. The riders now going from Rieti to Lanciano.
And the race starts quite nicely along the coast, but as they go inland, it gets very tough indeed. Two big climbs on the stage, one to the top of the Valico Sella di Corno, and then the highest stage, the highest one of the stage, is the Valico di Tricine.
Well, this is a little breakaway that's got clear, and they're enjoying a beautiful day now. We're field down to 175 starters this morning. A nice luxurious start time, Paul, a few minutes before midday when the sun's nice and warm, as the race now begins to continue its journey south. We're on the east coast of the leg of Italy now as we continue going south towards the heel.
Once again, there's always a Seiko rider present in the leading group. This is Michele Coppolillo. He's really, to me, Phil, been the revelation of this year's Tour of Italy because he's not really one of the riders you would expect to see riding so well in the mountains, but I think on that Terminilio stage he was very good indeed.
Well, this breakaway has a real chance of success now. We've got Dario Frigo from the Seiko team in the red there, Michele Coppolillo, who's having a great tour at the moment, up into 7th place overall. We've got Roberto Gamballuri. He's the rider that tore the field apart in the under-23 Worlds last year, got a silver and a bronze there. And by the way, Paul won the amateur Giro d'Italia last year.
But I think the dangerous thing, in fact, is letting a rider like Michele Coppolillo get into a breakaway like this because he's high up in the overall standings, and I'm surprised, really, that the team of Pavel Tonkov let this break succeed.
Well, they're heading into the final kilometre, and they're going to succeed. The peloton is not very far behind. In fact, it's only a handful of seconds, but providing they don't mess about, they will survive to the end here. This is an attack, first of all, by Dario Frigo. The Seiko man is trying to stitch it up for himself. But they're right onto him here. They're not wasting any time at all. There's the main field coming round the corner now. There's only about 20 seconds in it.
Well, they've reacted over the last few kilometres to pull it back, but this looks like Scamballuri. He's decided now that he's going to go over the top, and I think he may well have just caught them off their guard.
First tour, what a dream beginning for this young man. Everybody says he's soaked in natural ability. Well, we saw a lot of that last year. Now he's going to get a surprise first early stage win of the Giro d'Italia. He's round the bend. He's caught them completely napping here. Roberto Scamballuri, who rides for Brasiliat this year, is going to win his first stage of the Giro d'Italia. The other three have left it far too late to react. And the peloton must be very close indeed behind them too. He's not far to go to the line now, as it looks as though it's Dario Frigo is trying to catch him. It's all too late, but only just as Scamballuri wins the stage. Second, Dario Frigo. As he crossed the line, third is Coppolillo. And fourth is Steinhauser. And look at that, the main field coming in now. The big sprinters are going to have their moment too. And it looks like Fabio Baldato is going to be best of the rest on the line. He'll get 5th place, a few seconds back. So that was the order over the line there. Overall, again, no change overall, although Coppolillo will snick a couple of seconds, which will help his overall classification. But for this man here, Scambelluri, he's very happy with just getting a win. Look how young he is. What a great debut in the Giro d'Italia for him. Good win for Brasiliat too. They like a few victories in the Tour of Italy when they can get them. Overall, Tonkov still leading Leblanc by 41 seconds. Gotti is third at 1:07. Coppolillo is 7th at 1 minute and 49 seconds back. He's the big gain today as we now move on to stage number 7 of the Giro d'Italia as we now race away from the city here, heading down from Lanciano to Mondragone.
Well, one of the great things about the Tour of Italy, Phil, is there never are normally very great transfers between the stages. I think the riders appreciate that because they can actually finish and start in the same town, and it really is not as tiring sometimes as some of the other stage races they have to take part in.
And this coming down to, again, a bunch sprint here. The race has been together virtually all of the day. This is the calm before the mountains again, of course, as the leaders try to settle in. And I wonder if, in fact, Mario Cipollini, you can see him standing out down there in that mauve jersey, can get himself a stage win again.
Well, once again, a very hard stage in the early part with a big climb, but all together as we come down into the town of Mondragone, and again, 4 laps before we come up to the finish.
Well, a lot of pushing and shoving going on here, but once again, you see, Cipollini has got himself onto the far right of our picture, 3 or 4 men down. Remember, though, he's without his big lead-out man now. Fattini disqualified a couple of days ago, and so maybe it'd be a chance for the sprinters to take advantage of that, as they all now to try to dice for the finish here now. It looks to me as though we've got the MG boys trying to find Baldato somewhere in there, but he's not there. Yes, he is in the centre. But Cipollini's gone off to the left of our picture here to try and wind it up. Marcel Wust is also trying to break in for Festina here. That would be a turn-up for the German rider. But Wust has hit it just right for the line here. Taking on is Rosato of Italy, but Wust will take it. A second, Mirko Rosato of the Scrigno team. Leone was in there again. I think that's his third place on stages here so far. But that is the win that Marcel Wust wanted. That makes up for last year when he crashed out on the opening day when the race started from Greece. So Wust gets the stage victory. The Scrigno rider there is Rosato, equally annoyed at being beaten on the line. And third, Leone. And Cipollini absolutely nowhere. So we move on now to stage number 8, and this will take us now from Mondragone down to the Cava di Tirreni. And this is now a most beautiful part of Italy. We're almost as far south as we're going to go this year.
Certainly is a very hot part of Italy as well, and the riders, I think, starting to enjoy the fact that the weather really has come down to this Tour of Italy. They've got away from the mountains, 32 degrees Celsius this afternoon, with only a light breeze off the shoulders, which could sprint the field up towards the end.
And very, very humid indeed, so it's going to be pretty hot. This is the weather, though, that the Italians love. This is why they all flock down to the south. And the beautiful conditions, as this little breakaway now has got himself an enormous lead of 18 minutes and 21 seconds. And this is the day, perhaps caused by the heat, when they decided to allow a breakaway to succeed.
Sitting comfortably on the back, one of the Roslotto riders, Mario Manzoni. And a strange group of riders have managed to get themselves together in this leading group here. None of them very high in the overall standings there. Number 129 is Marco Lietti. A change of teams for him because he used to be a big rider on the MG team, and he's decided, I think, to come across to the Refin squad because he wants a little bit more freedom to try and win races on his own. Wearing number 166 is Andrea Vatteroni. All of these really riders you don't hear an awful lot of in the overall standings of the Tour, but in the main field it's work as usual for Mapei GB, who have to stay at the front and at least set a pace to make sure that the main field finishes.
And here is the main field, and Pavel Tonkov with his guard all around him here, beginning to gain a lot of confidence in this Giro d'Italia now. But you know, his form has been suspect all season because of injury, and he's looking to a long time in that pink jersey if he's going to defend it all of the way to the finish in Milano.
Well, this is the town of Positano. After 140 kilometres, the riders still facing 60 kilometres before they get to the finish, around about 45 miles.
And there, as we shadow up to where we are, there we are, still the one big climb to come before we descend down towards the finish in this very, very beautiful area of Italy. and they really have lost all interest in this breakaway at the moment. Nobody in it who's going to drastically affect the overall leaderboard, and that's why the leaders aren't bothering to chase. It's ruined any hope of a sprinter winning the stage, although the contours today, well, it wasn't really their cup of tea anyway.
Very good competitive final few kilometres too, with that little climb going up to 690 metres, da Vallecchio de Tunisi, and then two other little capos towards the end, just like the capos that you would see at Milan-San Remo. The Capo d'Orso is the final climb, and that's where if somebody feels that they're strong in that leading group, they'll try and jump away for maybe a solo victory.
Narrow twisting descents here. It means you must stay alert all the way down through these areas as the riders continue to just hold their defences now. They're not. There's no sign of the breakaway being caught at all. There's no big reaction coming from the main field. The breakaway was started today by Manzoni, and he was starting the stage in 123rd place overall at 26 minutes and 28 seconds back. At one stage he'd almost got that time back, but it's come down a bit now. The 16 men consolidating their lead though overall on the day at least.
Denis Zanet sitting on the back here from the Aki team.
Coming back a little bit, Paul. Snicked off a few minutes there. There's the devil again.
Well, 15.5 minutes. These riders must now be thinking that they have an incredible chance of taking a stage victory, but to do that they have to use their intelligence and try to split off the front of that leading group. And now the main field seems to be reacting a little bit because they're stretching out, and this really does remind me of the finish of Milan-San Remo with all these capos and this wonderful coast road, and that's when the speeds will start to pick up. And if you're at the back of the main field at the moment, you're almost 1.5 minutes behind the man at the front.
Well, there you can see the beautiful vineyards on the hillside here. The riders now are heading on to the Velico di Chiunzi, which is the last King of the Mountains climb of the day. A little bit steep, but it's not going to test them too much. There's Marco Pantani stalking the pack as he goes past the green jersey of Luc Leblanc. The green jersey is the King of the Mountains colour in the Tour of Italy, and he just took note there as who was moving up the pack and reacted quite a bit.
Well, it's the Asics team on the front, obviously trying to put a little bit of pressure on there. But you can see in the group there, it's starting to split a little bit. These riders thinking about the finish, thinking about where is the point where they're going to launch their attack. The man in the front now is Mariano Piccoli, and he's joined by 166 Andrea Vatteroni of the Scrigno squad. So they have got 13 minutes and 51 seconds over the pink jersey group, but the rest of that breakaway is somewhere in between.
And so it looks as though they're pushing the pace just a little bit here, while Tonko's still quite unconcerned by what is happening up front. And so too Marco Pantani. He's fifth overall, a minute 39 behind Tonkov at the moment. I think reasonably pleased with the way the race is going when you think the mountains are still to come that matter. As we head up towards the top of the climb here now, 500 metres to go. Piccoli will want this one to try and finally get himself into the leader jersey in the Tour of Italy. As he dances up the climb here now, just on the back wheel of Vatteroni.
Looking very comfortable. I think he was a bit crazy the other day to jump away on that breakaway on the stage to Terminilio. He should have saved it a little bit and then tried to go out on the final climb. But interesting to see the team of Asics at the front there. Very dangerous descent here as they go over the top there. It looks as if Piccoli went over in first position, but you can see the rest of the group here starting to try and pull it back together. 24 kilometres from the finish. But certainly these descents around the area of Campania in Italy are very tricky with the walls down the side, and if you do overcook it, you've got a big drop on the far side as well.
Well, that's Manzoni's just got back on. In fact, Piccoli did get over the top first, Paul, so he's now officially the leader in the King of the Mountains. So the Luc Leblanc green jersey awaits Mariano Piccoli tonight. He's back in a familiar role there, having won this for the last 2 years, this competition. Maiori, as we continue our journey now along this beautiful western coastline of Italy, and the main field at last on the climb, are they starting to get themselves together a bit?
Well, you can see they're strung out in a very long line indeed, and they must certainly put the pressure on as we look at the lead group here. And again, they've got themselves back together, so again Piccoli trying to get away. The gap started to come down, but Phil, there's been an accident here.
Well, there's been a fall here, and we're looking at riders who are spread, and that's Pantani who's coming off the side. Pantani has gone down, and look at the state of his trousers there. Marco Pantani looking a little bit shaken up here, and a bit of panic amongst the mechanics as well. Well, don't say, Paul, that Pantani is in the wars again.
Well, I can't believe it. He was looking so good on the climb just a short while ago. There he is, 5th overall in the overall standings, 1 minute 31 behind. He's got 2 teammates with him, but he doesn't look too bad at the moment, looking a little bit. Another rider here looks as if he's had some difficulty, and it looks as if it's going to be the end of the day for this man.
Well, whoever this rider is, in fact, it's Armin Mayer who's gone down, and that really is a sad crash because a nasty hole in his knee there. Bueno Hora has gone too, and he's one of the big hopes from the Kelme squad. There's Pantani. Well, he's got some teammates. Hopefully they'll take him back up. I don't know what happened there, but whatever happened on camera's just caught the aftermath as they were all lying down in the road.
Well, Phil, Marco Pantani to me here looks as if he's in an awful lot of difficulty. In fact, he's hardly pedalling at all and can't follow in the slipstream of his teammates.
Well, back with the leaders here. The gap is down to around about 13 minutes at the moment. They're trying to get themselves back together, but they'll be totally unaware of the chaos behind. But the crash to Pantani and Bueno Hora, 2 riders who we expected to see go well in the mountains, that could have damaged their chances a lot. 15 kilometres from the finish now. This is the situation behind. And you know, Paul, Pantani is not at all looking happy here.
He really can't get any kind of rhythm going. He's had a very tough crash here. We get a chance here, in fact, to look exactly how that crash happened. They're just going around one of these little right-hand bends, and the crash happened on the left-hand side. It looks like Mayer was the man who went into the left-hand side there with the Swiss Champions jersey on, and this is where Marco Pantani is in the left-hand side of the gutter, a little bit further ahead of, in fact, Bueno Hora. But that was just a crazy crash. It doesn't seem to me as if there was anything really in the road.
Well, that's a real shame. The 4th man that went down was Dario Frigo, and they're all in big difficulty at the moment, but none more so than this man here. He's got his 2 teammates with him. He's got 3 teammates with him now, but he is not looking at all good here. Pantani, I think, has lost a lot of his enthusiasm for the Giro d'Italia right now. He's clearly in pain.
Well, the man pushing him there is Roberto Conti, the man who's only got 1 stage victory in his career. To his credit, that's at the Alpe d'Huez. But here, I think it could very well be the end of the Tour of Italy for Marco Pantani because he just cannot get himself going.
Oh, this is a terrible, terrible shame. This was a rider who was starting to return to his old form. How much bad luck do you need in your cycling career? This man seems to have collected an awful lot in a couple of seasons.
Well, the man was lying in 5th place overall this morning, and that is a shame, Phil, because I feel he needed to finish the Tour of Italy if he was going to go ahead and be competitive in the Tour de France.
Well, back up with the leader, Manzoni, the man that started it all now, and he's way behind overall, but there he is. He's now looking to try and take out the stage here. He's just got 5 kilometres to go to the finish, and Roslotto could have themselves a big victor. But look at this, all of the team cars, the race doctor, everybody is now around Marco Pantani.
Looks as if, in fact, although he's got a superficial wound on the right-hand side, it seems that he's having problem with his left thigh. He's trying to get something from the doctor, the secret tube there, the ice spray, which hopefully will take down some form of inflammation. But, you know, Phil, this is really difficult for him to keep going under these conditions, and I think he may well have to take the better part of valour and withdraw from the Tour of Italy and try and get himself into some kind of organisation for the Tour de France later in the season.
Well, that's very, very sad indeed. Well, all the drama is behind the race. We're into the last 2 kilometres of the stage now. And this long, long breakaway, it looks as though Manzoni is going to ride to almost an anonymous victory. As our camera keeps going back now to Marco Pantani, the rider who is losing huge amounts of time now, even if he does finish the stage. Will it be worth going on? Because he can no longer possibly be a challenger in the Giro d'Italia this year.
And that is such a shame because he looked so good on those early climbs in the Tour of Italy this year. He looked so comfortable, but I think it's going to have to be a withdrawal for him because the main field a long way down. But Manzoni has done the ride of the day, really. He waited until that final climb, the Capo d'Orso, to launch his attack. He knew he couldn't stay in the main group, so he launched himself away on the descent, and he's going to get what for him will be a great victory.
And although he's on a Russian team, he's an Italian, so this will be a very important stage win for him. Mario Manzoni gets the stage victory here in the Cava di Terrini, and he is clear of the rest of the breakaway. 16 riders shaped up the stage today. At one stage they gained almost 20 minutes, but everybody is going to be talking about the situation concerning Marco Pantani. Second over the line there was in fact Stefano Giraldi, and third in was Maurizio Molinari of the Asics team. But further down the road, there'll still be quite a lot of minutes going by before this group arrives. All the men who are in the overall leadership of the Tour of Italy, led by the master, Pavel Tonkov, are in this group.
Well, as Marco Pantani still got half a dozen teammates around him. He's in a group that has been dropped by the main field. They're just trying to survive, just trying to get to the finish. But Pantani is certainly in a lot of pain there. All his teammates have stopped with him to try and nurse him to the finish. And at the head of affairs, these riders don't even know how far behind Marco Pantani is, as once again, Luc Leblanc sits in the slipstream of Pavel Tonkov.
Well, we've got him time, Paul, at the moment at over 12 minutes behind the winner. So that doesn't put him quite so far behind Tonkov, but even so, 12 minutes down on the winner at the moment. Here comes the field now, containing Tonkov, and that is a nice solid pack finish. They're going to be just very happy with the way things have ticked over there. No problems at all for them as they come in. And Pavel Tonkov finishing safely in the pack.
This is the group of Marco Pantani, still trying to get their way to the finish, but Pantani, I think, is going to have to go to hospital this evening and just check on those wounds that he's had. Let's not forget, Phil, that he's coming back from almost 18 months out of competition, and what he has to do now is make sure that everything is correct. There's his teammate Porenzana just leading him through, and there in the middle of the pack, Marco Pantani, who I thought was on a wonderful comeback.
Well, at least he managed to finish the stage there, but he's come in an awful long way down today, and I think his tour is over. But we'll see how he heals up, and we'll find out on today's stage of 232 kilometres, which is the 9th stage of the Giro. The riders now heading down to Castelvillari. Another incredible day, Paul, and this the hottest so far, 33 degrees.
That corresponds to around about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's very hot indeed. A beautiful part of Italy as we ride away from Campania into the next department of Italy, and these coastal villages here really are a marvellous place to spend some time away from the racing. In fact, Pantani did not start the stage this morning, Phil. He was taken to hospital and they advised him that the better part of valour would be to actually withdraw, get himself right and then come back later in the season.
So an uneventful day except at the start this morning, the non-starting of Marco Pantani. The other riders involved in the crash have also retired from this race. So Buenahora also lost to the Kelme team, and we expected a lot from him in the mountains as well. Down approaching the final kilometre of the stage today, and it again is swinging back towards the sprinters. All the attacks, such as they were, have been brought back into the field, and now it's a chance for the sprinters once again.
Well, it's amazing, despite those big climbs, that this whole field is still all together. We're looking for Mario Cipollini to see if he's in there at all, and I can't see him anywhere. And in fact, his teammates have been faltering, I think, over the last few kilometres as well.
Well, it looks as though Piccoli's going to have a little dig here, wearing for the first day his green jersey. Konishev on the far right. He's in the blue jersey of the Inter Giro winner, and he gets the stage. Came from nowhere there, Dmitry Konishev, the Russian. He was the first ever Russian, by the way, to wear the King of the Mountains in the Tour de France. And now he's taken on the current King of the Mountains in the Giro d'Italia, and he's taken him out. Dmitry Konishev finishing ahead of Mariano Piccoli and Roberto Petito, who made a good start to the Giro. He took the third place, and Gentili was fourth. In the overall situation, no change here. It is still Tonkov on top of the leaderboard ahead of Luc Leblanc and Ivan Gotti, but gone now Marco Pantani from that fifth place. On to stage number 10, 189 kilometres. We're bridging right across the heel of Italy now with this ride from Castelvillari to Taranto. No real hills, Paul, and a day for the sprinters, as it is proving to be.
And this time it's the turn of the Scrigno team to try and sort it out for them, and they expect Mirko Rosato would have a very good chance of winning this, but I do feel they're missing Fabrizio Guidi, their top man, who broke his collarbone in the Paris-Roubaix earlier in the season.
Well, this looks like Fabiano Fontanelli, who's trying to get away and try and snick a stage win. He got one last year just before he retired, and now he's clear again. He looks over his shoulder there, but all of the sprinters are trying to come up to him.
Well, if any man can hold them off, this man can. In fact, he won 2 stages of the Tour of Langkawi in a similar fashion this year. But you know, that Scrigno team at the front look to me as if they're dedicated to the victory this afternoon. And somewhere in the middle there also is Mario Cipollini.
Well, you bet your life, Paul, he won't be far away now, because when he gets this close to the finish in with a shot at the line, he is always looking for victory. In fact, he's twice won 4 stages over the years of the Giro d'Italia, in 92 and in 96. but he's never won 5. Well, at the moment he's got 3 in the bag, and there's still 1 or 2 left in this race that might suit him. And sure enough, you can pick out that mauve jersey, about 7 or 8 men down at the moment. And as we look at the picture now, he's moved up into 4th or 5th place. But the whole field are massing around him. He's the man to beat. I often wonder why they follow his wheel, because they know they can't get round him once they allow him to start the sprint first. He's got 1 teammate left to lead him out, and then it's going to be up to Mario to try and get the stage win. But there are a number of other riders here now, because a non-starter earlier in the week was Minardi. He really did suffer from that crash. He's retired from this tour, so he's not going to challenge now Mario Cipollini.
Cipollini's comfortably there in 3rd place, but he is one of the fastest men. Once he gets to the front, I don't think anybody can come around him. He switches across to the right-hand side of the road, but still the other sprinters queuing up on his wheel, and all they can do now is hope.
Well, once he gets the lead there, he's got Leone on his wheel. Leone's had 3/3, I think, and now he's got a second because Cipollini's got it. That's win number 4 for Big Mario. Leone will get second. I think it was Fabio Baldato who was there for 3rd place. There he is, Baldato in the white crash helmet. Leone still looking for this elusive stage win. He's tongued out as well, but he's had 3/3 and a second, and all of them now are defeated by Mario Cipollini. It hasn't worked out yet how to get by the self-proclaimed fastest man in the world. He'd go down well in a horror film sometimes, wouldn't he? He's over the line, so a win for Mario Cipollini. 5 hours, 10 minutes in the saddle. As we now move on with Big Mario searching for stage win at number 5, 159 kilometres today, 26 degrees Celsius now for the 11th stage. The race now moving on down to the circuit here at the Lido di Camaiore.
I think the riders will be quite happy that the temperatures have dropped at last below 30 degrees Celsius. And one of the men in the breakaway here is Massimo Podenzano riding for Mercatone Uno. And now that team really without a head because Marco Pantani has had to withdraw, giving some of the riders in that midst the chance to look for these small breakaways and the possibility of a stage victory.
153 riders left in. They had their rest day yesterday, and 180 riders started this tour. It's a 53-kilometre circuit, and they've covered it 3 times by the time they get down to the finish. And again, the blood tests were out today, and among the non-starters were Thierry Laurent, Vladimir Pulnikov, Marco Gili and Roberto Moretti, all out of the tour because they had the wrong blood count and considered unsafe to race by the UCI.
Those riders taking risks as they come to the top of the climb here. As you can see, looking back down there, Podenzano has been caught out. He was hoping to keep to the front here. The 2 leaders now wearing number 113 is Paolo Bettini, and he's been joined by the Mapei GB rider Gabriele Misaglia. It's a shame to see that Podenzano has missed out because he's such a good rider when it comes to the end of long breakaways like this, and in fact a former champion of Italy and a stage winner in the Tour de France last year.
Well, perhaps it was the long transfer of 900 kilometres and a little bit of training only yesterday for these riders, but they've allowed this big breakaway of 13 riders to settle in. And we're looking here now at Gabriele Misaglia. He's on the Mapei team, free as a bird at the moment and away from team duties, helping Tonkov keep his pink jersey. Nobody really overall. The best placed rider in this race is 18th overall, and really not going to affect the overall situation.
Well, the riders here reaching the top of the Colli di Pedona for the last time as the 2 riders go over the top. Just looking back, in fact, Podenzano, I think, has reacted and started to come up to them. It's good to see him riding so well. Obvious as well, a man liberated by the withdrawal of Marco Pantani. And just getting onto the back there, Andrea Vattaroni once again getting into the right breakaway.
Oh, and a little bit of trouble here, but watch out. Almost Paolo Bettini, and the bicycle's just gone in the garage.
Well, at the bottom of the climb is going to be the finish, so he realises he doesn't have a very big chance of getting back up to the leading group of 3. What a shame for him, because he'd been in the breakaway all the time. He'd put in the right efforts, and to lose a back tyre at a time like that, well, really, that is frustrating.
Oh, you can say that, Paul. He's a rider of real good future, Bettini. I can imagine his frustration, but he's still going to have to go in the garage and get his bike back. Anyway, we're on the way down. A little breakaway. Misaglia, Vattaroni, Podenzano. Watch out for Podenzano. He has been twice champion of Italy. He comes up with the odd big win in his career, but he's never been an all-time great rider, but he's been a winner.
Another man to get onto the back there was Mirko Celestino. A chance just to see how technical this descent is here. It's completely S-shaped all the way down, and these riders slowing down into the corners and having to accelerate away again, showing that there is a good chance for the breakaway just to hold on. But you can see how stretched out the main field is, showing that in fact the pressure's starting to go on, and they hope again that it will be a chance for the sprinters.
Well, it's going to be a little group, I think, Paul, because they're just hanging on to a lead. The 13 escapers who instigated this breakaway have been split up on the last time up the climb. It's just 6 kilometres from the finish. A finish they all know because they've been through it enough times today. As this little breakaway tries to now consolidate, Massaglia, looking over his shoulder, wants a little bit more speed. Attacked by Podenzano, which was bound to come. This aging veteran will gamble on a long sprint towards the line here, and Massaglia is going to react here. Massaglia is trying to, but he's picked himself up a passenger here. Vatteroni is on his wheel, and Vatteroni is riding, I think, his first Giro d'Italia here. And Massaglia, by the way, he's been out a little bit this year with tendonitis, but now he wants to catch up with Podenzano, but he's trying to force Vatteroni here to take over from him.
Well, Vatteroni playing a wily character. He's not reacted at all. He's just stayed on the slipstream of Massaglia. They knew that they had to catch up with the Podenzano, but now it's his turn to attack. But you can see the Mapei GB rider Massaglia. He's very keen indeed to keep this group together, and I'm sure he's going to try and get up to the back wheel there of the Skriniar rider. He's wearing the orange jersey there. He's made it. Podenzano now has been caught out.
Well, the three of them are full flight here. There's not a lot of tactics left in them, I don't think, because these wide roads, you know, you do feel as though you're on the open seas and it's hard to work out your tactics. But now Vatteroni is going to go again. Podenzano looks over his shoulder. There can't be much left in the legs of Podenzano right now, but he's going again at 2 kilometres to go. And again, Massaglia is bridging the gap first.
But Phil, they can't play around too much like this, because every time they attack they do open up their lead, but then it comes back down again, and the remnants of that breakaway are right behind them. But Podenzano, he's decided, I'm going to go for the victory again, and still it's Massaglia who responds. He brings it all back together, but in fact there's a group of riders not too far behind them, and they must surely be in sight.
But if they keep slowing down like this, they are going to regroup. The rest of the 13 men are just off our camera behind us, and we only can guess where they are right now. Podenzano keeps on attacking, keeps on getting pulled back. The man that's not doing any real work is Massaglia. And there we look in the distance, we can see the rest of the race here. And they're all checking it out now, and while they all check it out is Mirko Celestino, who bursts away. And he's going to try and stand. He just came up almost out of sight of our camera, latched onto the front. He's going to be first round the bend. Massaglia again takes second.
Well, that's remarkable. 1 minute he wasn't there, then the next minute he just came back. The rest of the group a little bit further back, but now it's up to Celestino to lead this group out, because he's the one that came up and he looks quite fresh.
Maybe he should have hit them straight away, because he's just given them that lack of surprise now. They've worked him out, and Massaglia looks to me the fittest. He's watching everything as again Podenzano goes far right of the road as we look at the picture. And this wily man, in fact, he's just latching onto the back. It was an illusion of the camera, that. Now Celestino is going. Now Massaglia is going. Vatteroni is chasing the little man. But this time it looks as though Massaglia has done what he wanted to do. He's followed everything till the line. Gabriele Massaglia gets the sprint. Andrea Vatteroni will take second. Mirko Celestino, he gets third, which means that Podenzano, the former champion of Italy, he is sitting there at the back taking a few deep breaths, and he will have to be content with the fourth place. Here's the big race from the rest now as the main field comes up now. Konishev is in blue, but our man in the mauve here is Mario Cipollini, and it looks as though he's going to take it at a canter. The rest were still sprinting then when he crossed the line. He was freewheeling. What an amazing character. So the main field are in, no big time losses at all, or perhaps we should say for these four, no great time gains. But of course the all-important stage victory for Gabriele Massaglia. He gets the win ahead of Andrea Vatteroni, and he's pretty happy with that. He's had a pretty good season, third-year professional. No change overall, Tonkov still leading by 41 seconds over the rest of the race. As we now move on to stage number 12 here, we're now looking at the beautiful finish here at Varese, as the riders now go from La Spezia over the top now. A couple of small climbs on the way, and we join the race on the first one of these two big climbs towards the end of the race, the Passo del Faiello, and it's on this climb we've got big riders in trouble already, Paul.
Well, it's again a very hot day as the riders head around the Mediterranean coast. They go around Genoa, And over the top of the climb, it's going to be the king of the mountains, Piccoli, in the green jersey, who'll get the major points. But behind, a lot of riders suffering, but still, Pavel Tonkov looks very comfortable there. You can see him in the pink jersey, and as always, the yellow jersey very close to him of the Polti rider, Luc Leblanc.
Well, there we're looking now at the rider here who's trying to get on terms. This is Barbaro, who was in the original breakaway that started the climb. He's gone clear on his own now because the breakaway has been splattered all over this hill. There's a lot of speed though from the main field. And Piccoli, well, he's taking a lot of risks here to try and join Barbaro on the descent.
That's what he has to do. If they can get together there, these two riders can work, because there's this little descent down into the valley at San Pietro d'Olba, and then another final climb, the Monte de Beguia, and then it's all downhill to Varazze.
Over the top of that climb, by the way, Barbaro was the first. Piccoli was 52 seconds behind him, but we just saw he's almost up to him now. And little Kepi Gonzalez got over there in third place. The Maglia Rosa group at 5 minutes and 5 seconds down, but they're beginning to close now.
We're looking here at the Mercatone Uno rider, Sergio Barbero. Looking very good, looking comfortable. Hoping, I think, that the rider behind him, Piccoli, could come up to him and get on terms, because the two riders together would certainly have a very good chance of success in this stage victory. You can see he's riding very close to the side of the road there. A little bit dangerous because a lot of these rocks come onto the road, and that's where you can get flat tyres.
Well, Paul, we're looking now at the lead group here. There's the gaps, the same. Barbaro 50 seconds ahead of Piccoli. The bunch are not too far behind him. And here is the head of the field now. And the climb is some tempo, as it looks as though Tonkov is setting the pace at the front. And in fact, there you see the green jersey. Piccoli has just been caught, so those time gaps have been wiped out. Just one man left towards the top of the climb now, and that's Sergio Barbaro.
It's a very tough climb indeed. They start at 500 metres in the valley and climb up to a maximum of 1,287 metres. And in fact, that time gap has come down dramatically too to the leading rider, Barbaro, because I make it around about only 20 seconds.
As we look down at the pack, there's another big name in serious difficulty today, Enrico Zaina, second last year. He's now reported more than 3 minutes behind Pavel Tonkov's group. And again, it looks as though the Batik rider, Evgeny Berzin, is also not enjoying yet another day in the Giro. Now, Luc Leblanc launching an attack. Now, that's something.
Well, Luc Leblanc has been following Tonkov for quite a few days now, and he thought he would take opportunity on this climb to try and shed himself of the pink jersey. But once again, the pink jersey of Pavel Tonkov, very observant, making sure that all these attacks are covered by himself. In third position there is Ivan Gotti, riding very well over the last few days in the mountains, but Leblanc certainly a little bit frisky.
Well, it's coming a battle of the first three on the GC in this year's Giro d'Italia, because there they are, all three of them. Not quite in the order they appear on the overnight situation, but we've got the man who lies in second place, putting his glasses in his pocket and getting ready for the final assault up this climb. It is not a hilltop finish, let's not forget. We've still got a long descent down to Varazze for the finish. And so the riders, if they're going to steal a march, have got to get big time. And now here goes Ivan Gotti. And again, the counter-attack is coming from the Maglia Rosa itself.
Well, he's responded to every attack that's been thrown at him. He really is riding like a defending champion, and I don't see anybody really being able to beat him in this year's Giro d'Italia, because he's come here, he has had a lot of problems this season, but certainly I think he's come to form just at the right time.
This little series of sprints that have been coming off the front over these last couple of kilometres has thinned out this leading group quite dramatically now. I think that was Graham Watson just gone by as well, Paul.
Looked very much like him. Another good shot for Graham, another good shot for the calendar. And I hope he makes sure he keeps plenty of sun cream on his head there.
Now another attack. This time it looks like Kepi Gonzalez is having a go. Well, Kepi is quite an animator in the mountains, and we've come to like this little Colombian man. A nice acceleration from him. He may get a little bit of a gap. He's been marked here by one rider.
One of the riders from Aki has come up there as they come into the town at the summit of the climb. Just sitting on the back there is Alexander Schaefer from the Asics team. And a very good group forming at the front here, Phil.
Pretty decisive one right now. They've counter-attacked each other all the way up this climb, and now we've got, what, 6 riders going clear, and still launching a delicious attack here as it goes storming off the front. This is the rider we haven't quite identified yet, but we're going to pick him up this time. I think he's looking over now for a little bit of help to see if anybody's going to come down and do something about it. And in fact, there's always a reply coming. This group is going to go clear. Here's Ivan Gotti going again.
Phil Gotti has tried once or twice on the climb there, but you know, Luc Leblanc has been very active, and I think that in fact is Nicola Micheli of the Aki team there. That's him just going through in the yellow jersey, and here are one of the Kelme riders coming through as well. Looks like Kepe Gonzalez.
Well, Gonzalez fairly well up overall, but not as high as he would like to be, of course. Micheli, by the way, is 12th at 3 minutes 50 seconds. Scheffer is up to 9th and having his best Giro at 3 minutes 05. And again, Nicola Micheli is having another little dig here. He's got up to this group and now he's causing them a lot of pain.
But what he wants to do is try and get over the top of the climb, because once they get to the summit here, it really plunges down once they get around one or two of these corners, and it's all the way downhill to the finish, around about 20 kilometers, but on a downhill, it's only around about 25 minutes of effort.
So there we are, 20 kilometres to go, and Nicola Micheli is going to be the first to take the plunge down the mountain. It's through trees, it could be a bit damp, and it's not a descent to be treated lightly. Little bit of reforming here at the back of the race. There's Gonzalez. He didn't come to any good on the climb, and he's going to have to do something about it on the way down. I don't think he's capable of that, as it looks as though Micheli is now beginning the descent. They wiped out Barbaro on the climb. We never saw him caught, but believe me, he was. This is the lead group now.
There once again is the green jersey of Parte man Luc Leblanc, sitting very happily in the slipstream of Pavel Tonkov. An acceleration comes straight away from Gotti. Gotti has tried once or twice. He's looking pretty good on these climbs at the moment as he goes over to take some points. I don't think these riders are too worried about the King of the Mountains competition at the moment. But there's the attack. Leblanc has decided he's going to go. But once again, Phil, Tonkov reacts. He knows these attacks are going to come, and all he does is just slowly accelerates and nullifies them each time.
He's trying to play the same game he played on the Terminale, and it worked there. He won the stage, and that's what he got the lead he now holds in the Giro d'Italia, and he's trying to do it again here.
But once again, whenever this race goes into the mountains, the Mapei GB team disappear. I think they had a hard time deciding how to structure the team, whether to build it around Tonkov or to build it for Jan Sverada, who unfortunately is no longer in the race, but it seems that they did have a team built for the sprinters.
Just a reminder, there's a 41-second gap here between Tonkov and Leblanc, 67 seconds back to Gotti, and now this man is trying to force a little bit of an issue as well. This is Nicola Micheli, and rides for the Aki team, and he's clear at the moment as they go up towards the top of the last climb today.
Well, another acceleration coming from Ivan Gotti in the red jersey there. Luc Leblanc looking a little bit in difficulty, but has responded to the climb, and it's forcing three riders clear, and there in the pink jersey was Pavel Tonkov.
All the cheers though for the Aki riders. He goes up towards the summit, but again Leblanc is now altering his tactics. He too is beginning to attack the pink jersey. Now if they can go one-on-one here with Gotti, they may weaken him.
They may well do that, but there's been a certain reaction at the front, because Micheli now is about to be joined by Noe, the rider from Asics, and also by Kepe Gonzalez, the Colombian rider wearing 86, I should say, in the green jersey. So a complete different face on this race.
Well, especially with Noah coming on the scene here. It's 143 down this morning in 6th place. He's got a chance of a real ascension in the overall classification. This should cause some interest by these riders just behind. And they're being led now by Gotti, then Leblanc, then Tonkov. They're trying to get back on terms, and look at this site further down the climb. It looks as though, again, Evgeny Berzin is in some sort of trouble, Paul. But now this is the critical descent. These descents around here are very narrow, and they're going down at almost 70 kilometres an hour.
It's knocking on 45 miles an hour, not far off 50 miles an hour, as they take all sorts of risks. And these riders are trying to catch that leading group of three riders. There's the time split at the moment, 31 seconds to the pink jersey, and the three leaders must take the risks if they want to stay clear.
Oh my goodness me, that's Gonzalez. He went off the corner. We didn't see him go, we saw him come out, and Gonzalez lost completely off the road there. Now he was amongst those leaders. They've gone through. He's back into the action. And this is how it happened now. He just didn't get round this left-hander, did he? I think his line was taken out by the other two who were also taking it wide. Well, he was rather lucky there was a grass bank. Anyway, he's okay, and he's chasing. He's Peepoli, the other man who was up in that front group, and it looks as though he's trying to get clear on his own.
Certainly is. I think on the back here looks very much like Axel Merckx has joined the action. The first time we've seen him at the front of the Tour of Italy so far. 8 kilometres to the finish, and Peepoli now looks to me as if he's trying to get himself back into the race. 16 seconds his advantage over the pink jersey group.
Well, Pippoli's trying to do something here, but I think he's realised he's going absolutely nowhere. He's sitting up, he's going to wait for that group behind. Now, the pink jersey isn't in that group. Gonzalez has picked himself up off the road and has chased back to a group. He's not in this group that's coming up, though. But there is a Kelme rider in it, Paul, so it can only be Marcus Serrano, because he's the only other one with the ability to stay with these boys.
Certainly you can see Axel Merckx has made it into the group as well, and so has De Grande, the rider of the Mapei GB squad, and the Asics man there, in fact, is Schaefer, so he's done a very good move to keep himself in the action.
Well, that's Schaefer at the front of the group here. A sharp right-hand bend as they come round. Schaefer going to take them round first, and Axel Merckx, no, he's decided to go and see the corner first, followed by Serrano. Oh, my goodness me, the motorcycle never made it this time, but happily they are all safely round. There's a few seconds gap, and that's all to the pink jersey group, and at last the motorbike has gone. This is the leaders, 3 kilometres to go. There's Merckx at the back, Serrano is there as well, and the rider sitting right on the back here, number 3, that is De Grande. So a good rider for Mapei has made the split.
But this is a very difficult climb that won't have been on the graphic sheet last night that the riders will have looked at, and I think it's caught one or two of them by surprise, and they're starting to gasp for breath just a little bit. That is the Asics rider on the front there, Schaefer. He's decided he's going to lead it out, but as we get nearer to the finish, still it's all together, 5 riders, and the main field, Phil, just around the corner.
And the breakaway knows it as well, and in fact De Grande here is signalling to the rest of the riders to come and do some work, because they're not a big advantage at all here. Leonardo Pippoli is the rider who's been forced to hit the front and lead out. De Grande's got his second place here. Now a good chance for Eddie Merckx, his son Axel, to go for it, and he is. Merckx is going for the goal line here now, and this will please his dad, who won this race 5 times during his great career, but Merckx may have gone a little bit early here now. De Grande digging very deep indeed. Serrano is challenging, De Grande gets it, Serrano second, and Alexander Schaefer gets a third, and I think Merckx there have to be content with 4th place. Not a lot of time gaps at all now, as over the line comes Belli, ahead of Guiarini, and Luc Leblanc was there as well. And in fact, there's Berzin finishing. He's over 3 minutes behind. And the other big losers today, Palouan, who was in 5th place overall, has lost 8 minutes 27 seconds, finishing only 54th. And Petito also crashed today, and he's lost more than 15 minutes. And De Grande won't mind a bit. There's the stage situation overall. 41 seconds, still the gap to Luc Leblanc. Ivan Gotti is in 3rd. Mikeli is now 11th and Ugrimov 13th. Axel Merckx up to 14th overall. And so we move on now to stage number 13, 145 kilometres. We're tucked away now right up in the far northwestern corner of Italy. The sun is shining beautifully again, and the field is getting smaller and smaller by the day. But this has been a fairly tranquil stage now. You can see Tonkov is still there, gritting his teeth, because he's hanging onto the tail now, Paul, of the sprinters as we approach the finish in Cuneo.
Well, just 700 metres remaining, and Saiko feel that their man, Mario Cipollini's got a very good chance, but just in front of him in 4th position is Fabio Baldato.
Well, the Amore Vita team are getting their tails up a little bit for this one now, but he looks as though going through on the inside is Sergei Uchikov, making the left-hand turn around the piazza, and he's gone! Uchikov completely overcooked it there when the Saiko boys have been brought to a standstill. That's disturbed the rhythm of Cipollini, and it looks as though Glenn Magnussen's going to profit by it. Magnussen, who won stage 2 last year in the Giro, gets it this time. He wins now the stage here, number 13, lucky for some. And Cipollini being challenged now by Mirko Rosato. And you know, Cipollini can only sprint quickly when it's for the win. He gets 3rd. And there's the man that fell right on the line. He get the same time as the winner today. He went down the last few hundred metres, but there he goes, Sergei Uchikov, and let's hope he's okay. He was down there for a little while before they sorted him out, but anyway, he's up and walking, and as Glenn Magnussen gets the victory here. The man from Sweden now gets a customary stage win for him in the Giro d'Italia. And so he's over the line first. The rest of the results, Cipollini was 3rd, by the way, and Mario Traversoni got 4th. Fabio Baldato was 5th, and Piccoli, he got the 6th place. Overall, of course, no change whatsoever.